Hello. So this is a session of Prism, which, as of the recording, is a RPG that is currently on Kickstarter. It is written by Whitney Delaglio, who I met a couple of years ago at Metapia and was super nice. And we just did an interview with her on the Gauntlet podcast, which you can check out. This is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts, which is an online community for gamers. We do like 100+ games a month. And we actually have an online gaming convention coming up for a weekend in October. If you're interested in this, if you want to find out what's going on with all this, you can check it out at gauntlet-rpg.com. We do games. We have a Patreon, and Patreon members can get like priority access. But even after that, if you're just interested in gaming and there's spaces on the calendar, you're welcome to come in and check out the sign up. We usually have a few spaces a week, so you can check that out. So Prism, we're going to talk about I'm going to walk through our CAT system, our concept, approach, tone, and subject matter. This is the little thing that someone came up with. I would cite a source, but I don't have it at hand. This is a semi-aquatic fantasy world. There are 6 families, 6 sort of lines, houses that are in this world. Some of them are mostly land-based, some of them are mostly water-based, so they can move between them. But the real pull is the kind of the idea of this watery world. And it is a diceless game about kind of setting up our stories and relationships. And the idea is kind of creative problem solving, which can be, direct action. It can be player negotiation. It can be tricks and stratagems. We kind of play that out in the course of this. So the aim today is to think about the world. This game has a lot of open spaces. While there's a lot of choices and interesting ideas in the character creation, there's still a lot of room to define what the world is about. And in fact, we're going to kind of start with that before we get to the character creation process. We're going to try and find interesting solutions to problems. We're going to look at how the relationships work. And we're going to try out these rules. This is the first time I've run this. I read through it, and we're playing from essentially a beta version that Whitney gave me, and we're going to see what we think. This is, I would guess, a lighter game. If we're talking about tone, it is a game about relationships, and sometimes those can be painful, and there can be dark things in here, but this is certainly not a grim, dark game. It is, and we can decide exactly how light we want to make that tone in playing through this. If we hit dark things, those things are things that can be dealt with, that can be solved, can be helped. And of course, our subject matter are relationships, exploration, negotiation, discovery, all of those kinds of things in the course of this. For the standard safety tool that Whitney mentions in the book and is the sort of default one that we use, there are many safety tools, but the X card is probably the easiest one, the quickest one to use. Doesn't have a lot of room for reflection, but it does allow us to move past. I take it all of you are familiar with the X card. I'm guessing, since I know some of you played Bluebeard's Bride, I'm hoping you know the X card. So that's on the table as a thing that's out here. There are a lot of other really good safety tools, but this is the one we're going to kind of default to today. This is open table, so if I don't know what we're going to be play, but if you feel pressure gets too much, and then you feel free to walk away. David has just checked in on the thing, and I'm going to message back to him here. See if we can get him into the hangout.
Well, are you going to do a player character, or are you a regular GM?
A what?
I said, are you going to be a player character too, or are you a regular GM?
No, this is definitely a GM'd game. Essentially, the GM's role is to kind of help resolve the negotiations when we come to comparing expertise to the difficulties here. Let's see if we can get David in. He's going to turn it off and back on again is essentially the quick answer there. So we're going to talk in a little bit. Hopefully we'll get David in. We'll talk about the world. We'll talk about what our expectations are for that. We're going to answer some questions from what Whitney calls the Tea Party section. And then we'll walk through the steps of character creation together. There are just a few steps, but they involve some choices. And I've got some drop downs that can help get those things out there. Google, it is worth everything we pay for it. There we go.
Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what was going up there.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm glad to have you in here. I'll put the and it looks like you're in the spreadsheet.
Yep.
So we just did a little talk about concept, aim, tone, subject matter. Again, this is a diceless game. It is a semi-aquatic fantasy world, generally lighter tone, about discovery, exploration, relationships. And are you familiar with the X card, David?
I am, yep, thanks.
Okay, great. So know that that is on the table as our sort of default safety tool here. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to kind of walk through the Tea Party, which has this kind of building our setting based on collective expectations. And I want to set out a few things that we do know about the setting. We know that we have these different houses, these different families, that some of them live on land, some of them live in the water. We know that each of the sort of the realms, the families, the templates, that there are different gods that look favorably down on the different houses that are here. We know that in the past, there has been an incident that has created a kind of infection that can affect people emotionally. And that's one of the choices you can be is someone who is infected, caught by that. And it's kind of an emotional, spiritual thing that affects the world. And that's kind of the limits of what we have sort of hard coded into here. So what I want to ask is, she's got a set of questions, and I am going to kind of work through those, and we'll see. And what I typically do in this is I am going to kind of call, and I'll work through an order. We'll probably follow that order through here. And what we want to is what do you want your character to do? What do you want to be doing on the table as we play? What kind of thing are you imagining? And Garrett, I played with you before, so I'm going to call you out as the first person there. What is it you're thinking you'd like to do?
I got excited about content warning for emotional play and nudity. Then I learned that the nudity is only about the art in the book. So I will focus on emotional play. I want to be like your trigger point for everybody else. And you mentioned in the interview this golden house. Who
Yes.
are there to save and keep children in good company or something? I like that a lot to explore that.
That's one of the realms that you can choose. Is they're kind of the protectors. So that's a good thing. Okay, so definitely emotional play, getting that on the table. Noella, what comes to mind for you?
So, since I've been reading Annihilation, there's a lot about like solitude and like being like a person who likes being alone. So I'm interested in kind of like exploring like solitude and being alone versus like, you know, interacting with other people and being in a social world.
That tension between those. Okay, that sounds interesting, and a nice thing that we can certainly reflect with the NPCs on that as well. Everybody will have one relationship that you'll establish, either positive or negative, to the others, and we'll play on that a little bit as we go through. Okay, I like that. And what about you, Andy?
Hold on. Okay, yeah, just trying to unmute. I would say that the thing that drew me to the game was the same thing that sort of drew Garrett. Emotional play. I have not done a ton of role-playing in emotionally complex games or situations, so as a starting off point, that's sort of what drew me here. As far as like what kind of emotions, I guess I would be interested in exploring. I'm not sure. Subtle emotions, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a fair answer. Okay, I like that. And David, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar sort of ideas, really. I think that the sort of social aspect is a bit that appeals most, I guess. Also, just the world itself sounds quite interesting, or quite an interesting framework. So yeah, just seeing a bit of that, getting a chance to sort of explore and flesh out the world a little.
Sure. Well, let's ask some questions about that. We've got some things about the world that we can define. So, Garrett, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask some world building questions here in this, because we're just taking a bite of your breakfast. So that means I have to call on you right away. So we have this infection that affects the world. Is it a strong thing? Do people try to hide it? Is it widespread? What do you imagine for that?
It's not zombie world, first of all.
Okay, absolutely.
But I imagine it more to be something depressing rather than causing panic. It's something which creeps into society slowly. And it slowly takes over the world. And it seems unstoppable. Unstoppable, but still we have many generations ahead of us where we can still continue living. It's just a matter of fact that in 100 or 200 years, or however we count, we won't be around anymore.
Are there visible signs of it, or is it purely a behavioral thing that people notice?
People's color changes.
Okay.
So you can see it on their skin and on their hair, and they lose color.
Okay, so rather than darkening, there's actually kind of a fading that goes on?
Yeah, we could still call it darkening, but it's more fading into monochrome.
Ooh, into monochrome. All right. Let me ask you, Noella, what kind of like places do people live in? Are there cities, or is there are there smaller settlements? How would you like to imagine the setup of things?
So I guess a cool thing would be like on land, they have like the city like follows like the shape of like a river or a lake, so it's like an elongated city rather than like the blobs that we have in the real world. Like if it's a river, just like kind of following down the path of the river or going all the way around the lake.
I like that. And do the underwater settlements, do they follow a same pattern, or do they attach to currents down there, or is there
I
something?
think that would be cool. I guess it's like following currents. Maybe they move.
Okay. Andy, do you imagine that these different settlements, are they fairly close together, or is there a significant travel time between the different settlements of people here?
I think there's a fair amount of distance between them. And maybe some of that is the fear of the infection.
Is it just, do you think, is it just like swimming or foot travel, or do they have some other means of transport?
Maybe they take advantage of migratory paths of large aquatic creatures.
Oh, nice. There are probably people who predict those things, calculate that out.
Yeah, like ocean weather kind of. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, David. There's probably a hierarchy. The book suggests that there are some people who are at the top, the nobility, and some control. Do you imagine that the sense of nobility and that hierarchy, that it's all encompassing, like there's sort of just this general sense of nobility and rulership that controls everything, or do different settlements have like a different and maybe oppositional leadership to other places?
Yeah, I think that so within like the individual realms themselves, there are sort of defined ruling classes and the like, but I have a feeling that individual settlements can be quite independent. And have their own ways of doing things, maybe their own local rulership and the like.
How do the nobles maintain control? Is it through beneficence? Does it vary? Is it through force? Is it through tradition?
I think through a combination of tradition and beneficence. Basically, I think they do have to work to maintain the support of their people. It's not sort of a grace and favor type position.
Okay. I like that. What I'd like to do with those things in mind is I'm going to shift up a little bit from the order that she has. I want to work through the process of making the character choices, and essentially get to the point just before the relationships, and then we'll talk about our characters, introduce them, answer some questions about that, and get that settled out, and then do the last little finishing up bits. Structurally, my plan is we'll do character creation, see where we're at that point. We'll take a break, and then we'll play some out. So that's my general plan for the session. So let me talk about the first pick. If you want to go to the character template, character sheet, we have the realm, and there are 6 realms, and this is where you were born. It's going to, each of them has one of the favored skills you'll get a bonus for, you have an expertise in, and that realm will also tell you what your realm values and what your realm resents. And so blue is about efficiency and chivalry, renown, that kind of art, and the god of the sea is the one that overlooks them. Gold is, as Garrett mentioned, is where the young ones are sent to hide. It's about protection and guardians. It's descendant of the god of life. Green are the plant folk, and described as the most pompous, with the most lavish lifestyles there. But the descendant of the gods, the forest. Orange is about hard work, and welcomes people who've fallen on hard times elsewhere. They're also the crafters. Rouge, which I will always read as rogue whenever I do this, is they enjoy themselves. They treat friends like family. They celebrate. And finally, Violet is the only home to the nocturnal, the kind of darker side of things, the silhouettes, the dead, and creatures that prefer the night. They have a small populace. The goddess of the moon does oversee them, so you can come from that. So those are the choices. Now, Garrett, you were thinking of gold. Okay, so if you want to grab a column there, and you can use the drop down to set that to gold.
The golden one.
Yes. And what that'll do is you can see that down below the drop down, it'll show you the values down at the bottom. So I've got these linked up there. Noella, what are you thinking? Oh, you muted. Going with the violet one? Okay. And what about you, Andy?
I was thinking maybe the orange or rouge.
Okay.
Did we have gold and violet covered so far, right?
Absolutely. And certainly people can duplicate, though. More interesting to
Sure. I'm just looking at the things quickly. I would say probably rouge.
Okay. David, is that cool with you? The choices that you've left there?
Yeah. So just have a quick flick through again. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for blue.
Okay, that sounds nice. So everybody can put that in. You'll figure out your name in a bit. Names are always the hardest part, especially with something like this. You will define the naming conventions by defining your names. And I'm going to go now in kind of reverse order. I'm going to come back the other way. And these certainly you can duplicate up on these. There's just 4 of these, and these are the character templates. And the 4 character templates that we have are primal, which means people who are strongly connected to their realm. They're strongly connected to their family, and they immerse themselves in what the family does. So they've leaned into that. Then there's the guardian. They are typically older. They have maybe retired from their work, and with that, they've been given wings. So the guardians can actually fly. So essentially, there's some sort of magic that when you retire, you will shift. Then there are the infected. These people are the ones that have been struck by the punishment. And in particular for our PCs, they've been sort of rather maybe than being driven to kind of the somber, their negative aspects have been pushed. And people are generally suspicious of them. And then the nocturnal. These are folks known for their glowing eyes. Essentially, they have an inclination towards solitude, and they tend to keep their feelings tamped down. And certainly, people can be we can duplicate up on these. So, David, let me start with you then. We have a one of those you'd like to do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Guardian, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds quite fun.
Okay. So got those. So what color of blue do you imagine those wings are for you?
I think a sort of pearlescent sort of blue color, slightly shimmery, translucent.
Okay. Yeah, I like that kind of shimmery pearl. Andy, what about you?
I'm thinking that I'm going to be one of the infected.
Ooh, interesting. And so they have a golden hue to their eyes. They tend to be pushed. Do you imagine that you've been infected for a while, or is this a relatively new thing for you?
I'm thinking that it's very difficult to tell with this particular infection. It's maybe it hangs out latent for a long time, and the signs of it are subtle at first.
Okay, I like that.
So yeah, but I think at this point I'm in the thick of it.
All right. And then Noella, what are you thinking of?
I was thinking nocturnal.
Yeah, that makes sense for how you were imagining the character. Yeah, that's perfect. And Garrett, what would you like?
I wanted a primal, and I get a primal because then we have all templates at the table.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Okay.
That worked out well. And again, we have the drop down, and that we'll put in the trait there. With the primal, we'll remember that when we come back to defining the skills, that you get a +1 to your the skill that's associated with your realm, which is survival. Okay. So the next step are your family, and there are 6 families. Choice of family is going to give you a unique trait. We've got the chameleon. They're allowed to mimic the magic. Essentially, they get some extra magics at the start. There are several different kinds of magic, and they tend to be performers. The plant folk have the traits of plants, of flowers, trees, and they tend to have large egos. It mentions there, and they can pollinate. They tend to have a tight circle of friends. The weed folk are characters with a freckled skin and gray complexion. It's mentioned that they're looked down upon by the plant folk, but they tend to be robust and hardy, as you can imagine that weeds are. Then there's the barbed fish, which these are bioluminescent humanoids, and they more strongly keep their fish-like qualities in the human form. And they can change into smaller kinds of fish, cephalopods, jellyfish, lionfish, and seahorses. And then the sea mammal, which is has the ability to maintain the tail of a dolphin, seal, or a whale. They can be docile or hostile depending on how you imagine that tail. And then there's the toothed fish, which can turn into the tail of an eel or a shark. So the first 3 families tend to be more land-based, and the second 3 families tend to be more aquatic. And essentially, we imagine that there are many different families in amongst the many houses. So any house will have people from different families in and amongst them. So Garrett, I'm starting back with you, doing Catan style round robin on this. What are you thinking of for family?
Toothed fish.
Ooh, toothed fish.
That's my preference. And anyone they caught would undoubtedly feel like a prince or princess.
Okay.
That caught me, that sentence.
Do you mention it's a shark or a large eel? What is the tail that you can assume there?
It's this very sharp teeth fits well to a shark for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
got the shark going on there.
I
All
have a
right.
shark going on there.
And Noella, what are you thinking of?
I think the sea mammal.
Okay. And what kind of tail do you imagine for yourself?
The whale.
Oh, okay. Do you imagine that gives you a more docile temperament then?
So I'm kind of thinking for this character, depending on the situation, like someone who has like extreme emotions on different ends of the scale. But I mean, probably like day to day, normally interacting with people, like not so much docile, but like very reserved.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I like that for the sense of the whale there. Andy, what about you?
I was also thinking a whale-based sea mammal, and
Okay.
I don't see any reason why not to.
Yeah.
I would like to sort of ride the tension between the emotions brought out by the infection and that docility.
Okay.
Or try to.
I like that. And of course, there are many different kinds of whales, gray whales, orca whales, all of that. So we can have different colorations and so on. And then what about you, David?
I'm keeping with the aquatic theme. I'm going to go with barbed fish.
Okay.
So yeah, got the sort of a few sort of tentacles instead of hair, suckers all along sort of the inside of his fingers and soles of his feet. Yeah, sort of slightly, cephalopod type thing going on there.
Uh-huh. And what do you imagine? So do you think you can transform into your chosen one? Is it like
a small squid? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one we're going to pick before we move to kind of introductions and talking and figuring out our relationship track is vocation. Each vocation gives you a favorite skill that you're going to get +2 in, and it'll also give you a talent. And we've got 6 types for this. We've got the brawler, we've got the diplomat, we've got the hunter, we've got the mage, we've got the medic, and we've got the one that I had to look up on Google because it wasn't a word that I'd heard before, the picaroon. Picaroon is a rogue-like character. I think it comes from picaresque, but that is what that is. So, David, starting with you, do you have one that you'd like to do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give mage a go, actually. That sounds quite interesting.
Is that cool with everybody? Okay. And so what that'll be is you can cast any of those 3 spells at any difficulty tier.
Sure thing.
Okay. Now, we do sort of compare that to aptitude to see whether you can match the difficulty, but you're able to get the effects that go on. And those 3 are very elementally generated effects. Andy, what about you?
I'm thinking the brawler. I'm especially intrigued by the line, they often enjoy a good rumble since agony gives them great pleasure. Kind of tying that into the rouge hedonistic streak, and yeah.
I like that idea. Noella, what about for you?
I was thinking the picaroon.
Okay. Circumspection certainly fits with how you've imagined your character so far.
Well, pretty solitary job.
That's very true. And Garrett, and again, we can double up, but what are you thinking?
I like to be the hunter.
Okay. And declare once a day. You can declare a task as a typical difficulty. That's pretty nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I like the solitude.
All right. So, does anybody have any questions about that with the drop downs and the character sheets? Everybody good with that? What we're going to do now is I want to have everybody introduce themselves, and then each of us is going to define a relationship with one of the other characters, and we're going to kind of set what that is. We have one sort of outstanding relationship at the start, but we can define other relationships as we go along. We can build those up. So, Garrett, tell us what you're thinking for your character. Do you have a name?
I already have a name. My name is Kek, with a sharply pronounced K at the beginning.
Kek. Okay.
Kek.
And what does Kek look like?
Well, Kek has sharp teeth and likes to show the teeth whenever they can. I haven't decided about the gender yet. Maybe even it doesn't matter so much in this game. And yeah, and I have a big and very friendly smile. But I was adopted because I had abusive parents, and this is how I came to the Golden Clan, and I'm forever thankful to them. But however, the time I spent as a child was so unpleasant that until today, I'm not 100% comfortable. I can pretend, but I'm not totally comfortable between many people, and I'm still exploring my emotional relationship with other mere beings.
And is that what kind of isolation what made you decide to become a hunter?
Yes, like being a hunter is the perfect excuse to be out all the time and only return, like to bring things back and report about explorations, etc. So, but I spend a lot of time in solitude.
What does a hunter hunt?
We have shells we hunt, and only the shells which are already dead. And so it's not a traditional hunting in terms of hunting something down. We don't have prey. But these shells, they are used to build certain constructions. And so actually it's construction material we break.
That's interesting. So you're going out and you're hunting for the materials, you're checking them, you know how to look at the shells and make sure and see the signs that they have passed on, and gather those things together. I imagine that sometimes there are pearls in some of these things. Do you imagine then that the populace tends to be more vegetarian, or are they also eating fish?
No, we wouldn't feed fish.
All right.
Now, among them are animals and fish which eat usually other fish.
Okay.
So it brings a certain element of paradoxy in it. Okay. But since we are all treat each other equal, we found other ways to get enough proteins into our bodies.
Okay. It's a good, interesting thing, gathering and farming there. I like that. All right. Thank you, Kek. And then Noella, tell us about your character.
So my character's name is Est. She was born in the Violet Realm, which doesn't have like a ruler in the same way that the other ones do. But it's kind of focused on like people who are like prefer solitude. So she was born into solitude, and I'm thinking like she grew up, she sort of like sought out relationships with like people, like, and traveled a little bit, but then had like bad experiences with people, and so has retreated back into solitude.
I like that. And what does she look like? Or she or he? Is it what gender do you want to?
I'm thinking female.
Okay.
So I'm thinking kind of like grayish skin. Like she can have a gray whale tail. That rhymes. Probably with some hair.
Okay. Same sort of grayish color or black or something else?
Just a grayish skin color.
Okay.
Like, sort of like pale white skin, but like that looks sickly, but just more of like a gray color naturally. She's not sick.
Okay. A tall, short, big, small?
I'm thinking since she can have a whale tail, she's a little bit like bigger, probably like a little bit like taller and bigger, but not so big. Like, but she can still fade into the background and have people like not notice her.
All right, all right. How did it come to be that Est is a picaroon? I mean, is that just habit or is it something organized? How do you view that profession?
Well, I'm sort of thinking that, you know, it's a very like solitary profession, and also a little bit of like an antisocial profession, I think, just because depending like on how you play it could be like a little bit of like illegal activity. So I mean, probably like during her forays into society, she had falling out with like different people and had to like fend for herself and like kind of turn to like picaroonish activities.
Okay. That mistakes were made and that drove you in that direction.
Yes.
Awesome. Garrett, let me come back to you with one quick question here. What gender pronoun do you want me to refer to Cac with? Do you want they, them, or do you want he or she, or does it matter? What would you prefer?
They, them.
Okay. All right.
But it doesn't matter too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
One
will.
day like that.
I will do
like
my best to remember that. I'm still working on that habit. I will admit. Let me come then to Andy. Andy, tell us about your character.
Well, I believe his name is Win. He's rouge, as we discussed, and infected. And I was thinking of how to reconcile the docility of his sort of sea mammal background, potentially, with his occupation as a brawler.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a new thing for him, and it's possibly a coping mechanism, or
doing this so you will feel something as a fight back against the infection.
Yeah, and a way to channel potentially the potency of the emotions that arise from it. As far as physical appearance, I haven't thought too terribly much about it.
Okay.
He's a whale-based sea mammal. I think like a blue whale kind of. So maybe there's, when he has a tail, it's blue.
Okay.
It has that sort of lined, sort of fin appearance, forked. The rest of him, I would go with the sort of monochromatic thing that we established earlier. So possibly, what was primarily a blue is starting to give way to patches of gray, or light white, or something. However we want to play that, the color of the infection. Said something also. I think they have golden eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me ask you a question then. Amongst sort of the people that are close to you within your family, are there others that are infected, or are you the only one that has succumbed to this?
I think that, if I may be so bold, I have somebody I know that. Sorry, my cat keeps putting her tail in front of the webcam. Somebody I know who suspects that they are infected, but doesn't know, and it's not evident to other people. So maybe this is somebody that there's almost like a closet mentor relationship with, or sort of something like that. I don't know.
Do you imagine is it a parent? Is it a sibling? Is it a uncle, a cousin, or just someone?
Probably like a younger sibling or a niece or nephew, I think.
Okay. Awesome. And yeah, I like that. I like that explanation for why you're a brawler. That's very clever. Let's go then to David. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'll be playing Haptera. So they're a blue clan mage of the barbed fish type. So they have, or he has, long, as a sort of not quite prehensile tentacles for hair. They are animated, controllable, but can't do like fine manipulation with them necessarily. So it has like lots of little suckers on his hands and feet for added grip. His tentacles are patterned with kind of like the pattern on a blue-ringed octopus. Those sort of very bright, almost like paisley-looking patterns down his tentacles. Dresses in lots of very, basically just pieces of sort of almost like silk mesh with sequins and gems over it, draped fairly haphazardly in a few different colors. He is so yeah, he's a guardian, so he has the big blue translucent pearlescent wings described earlier. They probably look almost like the sort of what do you call it? There's a fancy word I'm not picking up, so I'm going to have to say the dangly bits on a jellyfish. That sort of the sort of skirt that they have, that kind of shimmery look to them. He's obviously as a guardian, he's an older person. He has in his day he was a dancer, and that's sort of where he the art that he draws on to work his magic. These days, as a guardian, I think he probably actually works in concert with the Gold Realm, shepherding those in need to sanctuary there.
What made you decide to retire and become a guardian?
I think he's never had a family of his own, never had children of his own, but so he's sort of channeling his sort of nurturing instinct into that, and yeah, the I suppose the kind of the retirement and the helping out there were sort of tied into each other. He retired from his official position his normal position, so that he had more freedom to roam more independently.
Okay. So with those things in mind, everyone is going to make at least one relationship. You can make more with other characters, and essentially, if your character is happy with someone, then you can mark the +5 on that relationship. If you're unhappy, you can mark the -5, or if you're neutral, you can mark that at 0. So it tells us something about them, and those relationships, their interaction of them, how they feel about you and how you feel about them, can be asymmetrical, and it can have an effect on things you're doing with each other and performances and things. So, David, who do you think I mean, we're going to assume that all of you know each other, that you have some bonds, some purpose together, and we'll kind of define that. But what do you imagine as your relationship to one of the other characters?
I think it makes sense if I have a relationship with Keck, being a gold, a member of the Gold Realm himself. Themself, I've probably worked with, known them. Yeah. So I think the I'm trying to think what's a good word for the maybe so that's a
do you consider them a peer, or like camaraderie, or is it mentorship? How do you view your relationship?
I think probably somewhere between mentorship and camaraderie.
Okay.
But definitely that sort of area. I think.
All right. And we would describe this as you like them?
Yes, I think so.
Right. And the rules say that you set it to the rightmost, but if you want to set it from anywhere from 1 to 5, feel free to do that. Those are little things that you can shift as we play through the game.
Sure thing.
Andy, what about you?
I think it makes the most sense, or is most organic, to have my relationship be with the other sea mammal, who is also a whale, or whale-based. So,
how do you feel about them? They're pretty isolated.
I think there's maybe a little bit of resentment, like we are so close in some ways, but so different, and not the least of which is because of this infection. So I think it's friendly, but there's something simmering, like internally about it. And we've all had those friends, right?
Yeah. Do you want to describe that as negative or positive?
I think it's negative.
Okay, and you can set the degree of that as you want there. I like that. Are you cool with that, Noella? Okay. So Noella, let's come to you and have you define a relationship.
I do too.
Absolutely. I was actually thinking, I would probably go around and see if anybody wants to define additional ones. So yeah, let's have you, if you want to do 2 right now, that's cool.
Andy, what's your character's name?
Wynn. Wynn is my name.
W-I-N.
W-Y-N-N. But
Okay. So I'm thinking that, like, on my side of the relationship, I'm thinking that maybe, like, they've known each other for like a few years, and in the past, maybe S was like in love with Win, and I don't know if it was explicitly defined, but you know, she doesn't have a lot of emotional intelligence. So he like broke her heart inadvertently, and there's some like resentment against him too.
So do you mention that's more of a negative feeling then?
I'm not sure, because I think she's still a little bit in love with him, but it like doesn't like resents him at the same time.
Okay, so maybe just a couple
I
of
can have it
degrees.
as
I'm sorry, I missed that last part of that.
sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, so I was saying it could be like just a couple of degrees towards one way, and maybe it shifts back and forth as the mood hits you.
Yeah. So maybe it starts as like a 1 or 2 on the like scale.
Okay.
And then and he already said it's kind of negative towards me. And then I think my other one would be with Keck.
Okay.
Because I think they see Est as like, I mean, Est is no longer like a child, but is kind of like someone who like never matured socially or emotionally. So like they see her as someone they need to help, almost like not necessarily like shelter in the gold realm, but somebody that they need to help. And I think she views them as kind of like, you know, like, don't bother me, just leave me alone.
Okay. So do you think that's positive or negative?
I think more neutral.
Okay. Absolutely. So you can put those in on your sheet there. Figure out where you want to go for the emojis that I put there. And let's come to Keck, and then I'm going to check back in with Win and Haptera and see if they want to add anything else. And obviously, you can, on those relationships, you can put how they feel about you, do that cross listing there. So Keck, what are your relationships?
Well, Haptera and I are mentor and mentee, and I think we haven't decided yet who is like more guarding whom. And Haptera, you are a guardian by template. However, my feeling would also be that it would be interesting that my experience with my realm, the realm protecting children, has something to do with you, and that this is what us actually brought more together. That maybe you didn't have such an easy childhood, and I feel protecting you in the sense that you didn't have the kind of upbringing you would have deserved.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool.
So that sounds positive.
That is positive, yes.
Do you think strongly positive or a little bit less than full?
A little bit less, because I'm on the guardian kind of position towards a guardian, and that might cause disruptions once in a while.
And do you have another one you wanted to do?
Yes, and with Win, I would like to have a defined relationship. And well, I have a problem with Win being infected. And I have a very strong opinion about how infected people should behave and how they can take over responsibility towards the infection and towards society. So, and I don't think that Win is doing enough.
Okay.
So that is a negative.
How negative? Strongly?
It is currently strongly. I'm happy to resolve that soon.
All right. Let's swing back around and check in with Andy. Are you good with relationships, or we'd like to do another one or two?
I feel good. Sort of just what's been established.
Okay.
Outside. Yeah.
And otherwise, the other ones you're kind of neutral on. That makes sense. And what about for you, David?
Yeah, I think I'm happy where I am. I think it makes sense that I've not necessarily got quite the same level of relationships with the other two, as both sort of younger people who aren't in my specific area of influence, as it were. And I can't think of any NPCs off the top of my head I want to kind of establish, so I think I'm good where I am.
Okay, we will pop some of those in as we get rolling here. Let's get your skills down on the table. Let's get those numbers in. Aptitude is singing, playing musical instruments, dancing, rousing people. Dexterity is all of the climbing, physical acrobatics. Etiquette is our social skill. Insight is our spotting, understanding. It's human perception and general perception. Might is sort of the strong physical grappling skill, and then survival is sort of the catch-all for cooking and persisting and those kinds of things. So what you do is, for your favored skill from your realm, you're going to set that at a 3. If you're a primal, then you set that at a 4 to start. Does anybody have questions about which link up between their realm and favored skill? Has everybody got that? They're all on the ball. I have to scroll to remember these things. And then you're going to set your vocation's favored skill to a +2. If that's already your realm's favorite skill, then you just add another +1 to that. You're going to select one character that you have a relationship with, and you're going to agree upon one skill. Both of you get +2 to that skill, or a +1 if it's already realm or favored. Essentially, it's defining that you can work well with them. So what would you like to do for that, David?
I'd quite like to, obviously my only relationship is with Keck, and I think it's, I'd quite like to go for insight on our relationship together.
Sure. So you would get a +2 on that. If you already have it as one of your favorites, you just get a +1. Are you good with that, Keck? Okay. And you will get a +2 on that as well. What about you, Andy?
I'm not sure. I'm just looking at this. My relationships are with Est and Keck. I feel like with Est, I'm confused and resentful, and with Keck, I'm especially perplexed. So maybe that has caused me to be very careful.
Okay.
And therefore, it's like an etiquette thing?
Sure. Etiquette, survival, I can see either one of those would be perfect.
Sure. Do you have thoughts about that, Garrett?
Sorry, I can't exactly follow at the moment.
Oh, sorry. He's thinking of taking his bonus skill with you from the relationship, and he's thinking of either etiquette or survival. Do you have a preference?
Yeah.
My thoughts, I guess, are that you have a very negative feeling towards me, and I've picked up on that, but I don't really know why. And so there's a certain like skill arising from negotiating or trying to figure that out.
Okay, yeah, that's fine for me. And I also get then that skill, right? Or how
Yep.
does it work?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have a preference or an argument to make for survival or etiquette?
Etiquette makes total sense to me because I'm arguing on this theoretical basis that you should behave differently or something.
Sure,
So
sure,
it seems
yeah.
to be about
Okay,
political
perfect.
discussion. And I
No-
already have a lot of survival.
Noella, what about you?
So I'm thinking about doing it with Lynn. I guess maybe survival, because maybe they like, have like teamed up to like help each other in the past.
I like that. So we give +2. Win, are you cool with that? Which brings us to Keck.
Okay. I would like to strengthen this extremely strong relationship to Haptera even further.
Okay.
And I think we indulge in making music together.
Okay.
And so it's aptitude, I would say. And so you get more aptitude, right? 1+. And
And you will get a 2.
Sure thing. That sounds good.
yeah, it's something I can learn from you.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Now you should have some blanks. One of those blanks you have to set to 0. The other ones you set to 1. So you're going to have one thing that you're very, very bad at. And then the ones are essentially you can handle typical things, typical tasks within that. It is possible for people to combine skills if it's thematically appropriate to get the levels up. And I have put the on one of the tabs sort of what the different successes required for things mean. So yeah, if you have a relationship, you get a 2 in the skill, unless you already have one of the favorite things, and it's just a +1. All right, okay, we've done a lot of stuff, so I want to get to some playing out with these characters. We're gonna take our 5-minute break now, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna throw us into a mix. We're gonna assume you're together, and we're gonna set up a situation. So let's take 5 first. I can hear helicopters in the background and things going over because the local university, this is the opening day first football game of the season, and we're not that far away from the campus, and it gets loud. We had jets fly over the last couple of days.
Yeah, I live near a Big Ten university and have the same thing. I don't know if there's a game today though.
Yeah, for me, it's that I have to decide when I want to travel out of the house. It's bad because it's a night game. Usually, if it's an afternoon game, I can travel while they're in session. But for this, they start tailgating early, and they're just crazy all day.
Yep.
All right, so you four know each other. And as circumstances have it, you are traveling together. You are heading to one of the cities of Rouge, and it is one of the underwater cities. It is called Capstone. Capstone is a city that is almost like a bridge. It spans a gap. It spans a trench, one of those deep trenches that goes down, and almost like how the Grand Canyon and those things have thermals of air. There's the thermals and currents of water from the cold kind of coming up and then the heat going down. So along that trench and current, it's got kind of a wild rambling area, but the capstone is kind of built across and then along the edges of this trench, and it is a kind of spectacular city of old school architecture. And you are coming here because of the contests. That this is one of the things that House Rouge does. Is a series of contests in various different skills and demonstrations and so on that are a way for people to gain things that they want, favors, objects, attention. There are all kinds of things that can be gained here in this. So let me ask then, Keck. What is it that you are looking for? Why are you coming to the contest this year?
Well, you were talking about this old architecture, and actually, I've heard a lot about it and about the beauty and the kind of also kind of innovative for their time and interesting constructions they made out of these shells. So the contest is a perfect opportunity to visit these old structures. And there are also known to be some ruins where nobody lives anymore, and I'm very curious to see them. But I think Haptera has even better reason to go, so I might accompany him as well. That might be a reason.
I like the idea that some of the shells are from things that don't exist anymore. So old that they are notable for that. Then let me ask Est. This would normally not be your scene, but what is drawing you here to this kind of a little more crowded city, this challenge for you?
So my idea from watching, like observing other people, is that if you want to impress someone or win someone, you do something like you win a contest or something. So I want to impress, win, because I know, we're not really at a good point right now in our relationship, and I'm just just trying to puff myself up a little bit and show him that yes, look at me, I am a great I'm a great performer or whatever.
I like that. I like that very much. So speak of the devil. Then when why are you here?
So are these like gladiatorial type things, or just a variety of different challenges?
I imagine, yeah, I imagine that there probably can be some portion of it being like a contest of physical might and strength and battle, as well as other contests of poetry and all of that kind of thing.
I think the brawler front maybe has been a little quiet, and I came to feel some pain.
And certainly, this is of your family. Do you imagine that your a mentor figure is here? The younger sibling, was it, we said?
Yes. Yeah, I think the let's just go with a nephew.
Okay.
Is here. Yes.
Okay. Let's call them Koba. Seems to fit with our naming thing. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
So Koba is here, and Koba may have even been the one that kind of mentioned to you that you should come, overcome some of your reluctance and be here amongst the House Rouge. And Haptera, why have you come?
So I think Haptera may have won at one of these competitions in his past, and he's sort of coming to sort of essentially, observe the new generation, sort of performing their art, establishing themselves on the scene. I think the other thing he is going to be on the lookout for any of the younger performers who might need assistance. I'm thinking very much the kind of pageant show type pushy parents, and that might be an issue here.
Sure. And what kind of contest did you win? Was it a demonstration of magics, or was it something else?
It was a dance contest.
Okay.
Probably used some sort of magical effects in his performance, because the two have always been very much interlinked.
Do you imagine that your preference in terms of that is with water magic or fire magic or the earth magic?
Primarily water magic.
Okay.
Is his focus.
Okay.
He can do a bit of everything, but water magic is definitely his element, if you will.
So I'm going to kind of start as the four of you have come in, and we can see the city again over that trench. We see various schools of fish that are drawn along the currents with different people riding them in, and then sort of hopping off to get free of the current. And people are gathering here. The House, the Rouge, that family does have, are given to big pageants, so everything is decorated here. Colors of various houses. I imagine that there are banners that are going in the currents. Hang on one. Kind of sweeping through in the currents there, billowing. And as you are coming in, Haptera, with your comrades, that you know each other. You've probably caught how did you travel in? Did you catch the same whale, or a school of dolphins, or what do you imagine there, Haptera?
I like School of Dolphins. Sort of. They're trained to obviously swim together. They have a sort of pilot, if you will, sat on the lead dolphin, and then the passengers each take up their own and travel, in a school formation.
And as you have kind of released off and the group of you are swimming away from the dolphins, you will see a more brilliant gathering with jewelry and decorations and clothing and that kind of thing that has just arrived with some pomp and circumstance. Of course, as your eye will be drawn to the various bits and baubles that they have on them there. But for you, Heptera, you will recognize this as sort of the leader of this is the person who probably took your place as sort of the front runner amongst these sort of dance competitors. A fellow named Tapio. And Tapio has a great mane of greenish hair that somehow the water always carries it and billows, and that's part of his thing. And what is it that makes you dislike Tapio? What is the thing?
He's arrogant. I mean, he is a very skilled dancer, but he's always used his popularity for sort of self-aggrandizement, for his own gain, rather than to try and please other people to help sort of society.
Right. He doesn't help the juniors like you do. And one of the folk that are near them maybe says something to him, whispers to him, and he will see you and your companions, and he's like, Heptera, oh, you're retired. I see you have your wings.
Indeed, my days on the stage are somewhat behind me now. Got to hand over the reins at some point. I'm glad to see you here, though. Will we be graced with a performance of yours this evening?
Yes, I have been placed into one of the contests, though you can imagine my disappointment that I will not be performing against you this year. But I can understand when the body gets old, one wishes to preserve one's health.
Quite so. I think I've spread my art as far as it needs to these days, and I can place my focus on doing other things. But
it's good to have a hobby.
Indeed.
And he will nod as he is moving his sort of entourage around and decidedly kind of cutting in front of you to the passage to go in. Keck, you will see someone amongst sort of the company behind him that looks like a member of your previous family. Who is it? Is it a sibling who didn't get out? Is it a parent? Who is it?
It's a sibling who didn't get out, and they are infected. They belong to the infected, and I didn't know that.
And they seem to be following along in Tapio's wake like they're a servant. They have that same sort of bowed head that you associate with people who have kind of suffered under others. And it looks like they are in this entourage.
Yeah. Well, one important part of the upbringing I got in the Gold Realm is that we don't have bad feelings towards our former families. We shall not, and we shall accept our past and live with them as peacefully as with every other human being. So no bad feelings because of that, but seeing them behaving like this, seeing them so different than I am, and seeing that they are infected makes me immediately suffering so tremendously that I feel like I'm close to a heart attack. So I grab Haptera by his shoulder and drop into his arms.
I will hold Cat close to me. What is it, child? Is there anything I may do for you?
No. Take care for yourself. This person has just seriously insulted you. Don't let that go down on you. I can take care for myself, thank you.
And I have little to fear from Tapio's words. He is free to share them with all and sundry. They carry little worth.
So I hand both of you like strings of jewels that I stole from Tapio. It's like my way of like trying to console you.
Oh,
Like I essentially robbed him blind while he was insulting Heptera.
oh,
I think you can probably get some jewels from the people at the back there that were more laughing and giggling at the discomfort. Does that seem fair? Then Tapio's group will move on through here, and you will see one of the people of House Rouge, the guardians there, will appear up and will approach and probably recognizes you, Heptera, and this representative says, Master Heptera, are you here to perform this year, or is it something, do you have companions? Are these other dancers? What is going on?
I am not here to perform, I'm afraid, this year, but I look forward to seeing the festivities greatly. I believe some of my companions may wish to engage in some of the contests.
I see. And he will turn to you, Est, and will say, so are you a competitor? What contest do you wish to participate in? I am the registrar. I keep the registers here. I write the things down and I tell the people who are going to the things and I assign where to go.
Knife throwing.
Knife throwing? Ooh, yes. The deadly daggers. I understand. Yes. That will be Promenade C. The first round of that will be later this evening. Do you need any assistance in?
No.
Yes. All right, then I will leave you to it, and to be as it is. And this gentleman will turn to you and kind of notes that you are of House Rouge, Win, and will say, brother, are you here to compete?
I'm here for your most strident physical challenge.
You wish to participate in the arena?
Yes.
We have a waiver that you will need to sign, if you do not mind.
Of course not.
And what is writing like underwater here? Is it magical ink or is it something else?
I think that ink on paper or something like that is probably not gonna cut it underwater, and I'm thinking of a good alternative. Oh, maybe it is some sort of stone or something, a tablet of some sort on which like trained sea slugs or some such thing will carve.
Oh, yeah. So you run
on
your
them.
finger on it, and then they trace the path.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, I like
Some
that
sort of
idea.
mollusk. Yeah.
So that it will have you do that, and it will cut your signature into this piece here. And he was like, yes. And he kind of looks at you like maybe he's heard of you, or you know, maybe he's heard rumor about you. You know, you have gotten kind of maybe a bad reputation, I assume, in recent months as you've gotten more manic.
I've probably gotten into some brawls. I maybe have picked a few fights.
Excellent. This does seem a contest suited to your skills.
We shall see.
Yes. And he will look at you, Keck. Are you a competitor?
Still just recovering and getting my head back up. Say, competition? Do I have to?
No, you don't have to compete. We have many people coming simply to watch the contests.
I think I might rather stay outside of any competition. I don't feel exactly in the state of mind at the moment. But if I change my mind later, can I then come back to you?
Yes, absolutely. The more the merrier, and certainly if you are a friend of Haptera, we respect this guardian's entourage.
Yeah, I think you could say so.
And they will back away, and you can enter into the city. Do you imagine, since this is a city of your house, when do you have friends that your group could stay with, or do you would you stay at some sort of common house, or do you have a household here? What do you imagine?
I think first of all that Wynn's relationship with many of his house is probably strained. Because of the infection, but not necessarily with everyone. At this point, maybe he's become a bit of a black sheep, and there's always those family members who take to a black sheep. So we'll say I have maybe a favorite aunt or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe Koba's mother.
Koba's mother? Okay, that makes sense.
Well, so Koba's. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just say that works.
Okay.
I think we said he was a nephew. That doesn't quite work out, but maybe maybe families are a little different.
That makes sense to me. And her name is Seraphim.
Okay.
And we will arrive at. Do you imagine? Does she have a big house, a small house? What are you picturing there?
I think that it is. It's modest but nice and utterly unique. It is decorated with. There's a garden in front of it of many different colors and shapes of seaweed, and the house itself has an array of coral polyps that are growing on it, and so it looks almost like a reef.
All right, so shell-built house with the coral polyps on it, and then the garden with the seaweed probably looks like aquarium stuff. They have those very different, bright, vibrant colors in and amongst there. And Seraphim will come out and greet you. The rest of you will notice she greets Wynn with courtesy, but not necessarily warmth. She said, "You are welcome to stay here while you are in the city for the contests. I will have rooms prepared for you and your compatriots.
Thank you. It's been a long journey. Is Koba home today?
Yes, Koba is preparing for the contest.
And how is he?
He is nervous. I hope that you will not distract him from his preparations.
Of course not.
And she will turn to you and she a little more warmly says to the three of you, you are welcome in my house. You may come and go as you please. We will have rooms and lodging set up for you. If you have any need of anything while you're in the city, please come and speak with me.
Most kind of you, my dear lady. If there's anything I may do in repayment for your kindness, you have but to let me know.
It is an honor to have one of your status here. So there is no need. And you can come in, and there are lodgings presented for you, prepared, and I imagine that they are fairly nice. Let me ask you then, Est, get settled in here. We've got a city full of treasures. We have an obnoxious person that was met before. We have this nice lodgings. What is foremost on your mind?
So I think just my relationship with Wynn is on my mind, because that's sort of why I got roped into this. I think he and just looking for people to travel with, and got roped into it, and I'm very nervous. I think I'm very apprehensive about this whole trip. Both it's a very big place, and I don't feel comfortable in that. But also, just I have this sense that something might happen or go wrong. I have a sense of apprehension.
So it's kind of hanging. So you're kind of maybe moving into your shell as you sometimes do.
Yeah.
Now you've said throwing knives.
Yes.
What do throwing knives among these people look like? What do they throw?
Probably the blade is probably made of stone, sharpened stone, and then the handle made out of some kind of shell or coral. And I think I have kind of a set of very inexpensive knives, so probably sharpened stone and cheap shells. I don't have the really. Some people have really decorative and expensive knives, and I don't have those. I might try and snag some if I can, but those, in the contest, people are going to be guarding those very closely.
That certainly makes sense to me. Let's come back to Keck. Keck, have you recovered, you think, at this point a little bit?
I have, and I'm suspiciously looking at these family conditions and why Wynn is not welcomed in that sense. Because I understand my suspicion, but a family should always be there for each other. So that might already deteriorate my feelings towards Wynn in a positive direction.
Oh, okay.
Seeing this, so we can change that anytime, right? When we feel like cool, yeah. Because, and so I'm staying a little bit closer to Wynn and try to observe how they react to this coldness, and yeah, I will interfere if necessary, because I will not let anybody being harmed by their own family.
The servants that are here, They're just a couple, but they come and they definitely avoid being near Win. They kind of try to stay out of his eye line. They will speak to you, but they don't address him as they set down a meal for you, and it is definitely cold.
How it should be.
Things are so different here now. So different from what I remember.
How was it before? When?
This was always the happiest place to come. This was, I have many happy memories here.
Would you like to share one with me? One of those happy memories?
I remember the first time that I met little Koba, and I held him in my arms, and I don't have any brothers or sisters of my own, so I felt the connection to, you know, he was a peer, maybe. You know, I was a boy myself, and maybe he would be my friend.
Yeah, I can feel that.
You'll meet him. He'll be here. He's busy preparing, but he'll make time. I'm sure of it.
By the meantime, hey, Haptera, what about playing a song together? It's good tradition among merfolk to play songs together when you're invited for a meal.
Of course. By all means, let us put on a little performance. If any of you wish to join in, by all means, feel free.
Let's play the song about the lost son returning to his family after a long time, right? That sounds suitable.
Indeed. So yeah, I think that Haptera will sing. He's got that sort of thing. His voice is obviously not as strong as it once was, but it's got that kind of real emotion to it, sort of thing, as he sings.
And Wynn, you have a pretty good aptitude. Do you play? Do you dance? What do you mention that is for you?
I hadn't thought about that.
Okay. Well, think about that. Let me ask then, Garrett, what is it that Keck? Do you sing? Do you?
I have an underwater flute. Underwater flutes produce bubbles, and mine produces rainbow-colored bubbles because there's a little chemical which I extract from a certain type of shell. And so they come in all kind of colors, and they fill the room the longer I play.
Nice. So we get kind of a sound and visual thing with that. Est, you're okay at performance and dance and things like that. How do you pitch in, or are you more kind of seeing that they're maybe a little more skilled than you and make you nervous?
I think I clap along a little, but not any major contribution.
Okay. Keeping time, paying attention to the music, and so Wynn, what do you think for your aptitude?
I think the aptitude is just that rapport that certain people seem to just be able to develop with an audience or crowd. or a group of people.
Okay.
That sort of instant connection.
That may be what draws S to you in some ways.
Maybe.
That you have that presence.
Yeah, maybe.
And as you are performing, you will hear some noise in the house, and then you will see this young man dart in. Has sort of violet and red clothing on, and rushes and shoots like a dolphin across the room, over to where you are, and Koba grabs you and hugs you, and is visibly physically affectionate with you, just so excited to see you.
Mm-hmm. And I think as that happens, there's maybe almost like a palpable sense of maybe there was some dread that I was holding in my face, my body. I was perhaps a bit stiff because I was worried. I have not seen Koba in a while, and I not only was worried about his relationship to me after seeing his mother, but also his physical health. So there's a relaxation, a melting sort of my, and like I'm visibly relieved and moved and so happy as this, boy crashes into me and, just a little verklempt for a moment.
And you will notice that you're not seeing like the visible signs of that infection on him.
Right.
He looks more hale. And he will turn around and he says, who are these? Who are these people? Who are these your friends? Are these your friends?
Koba, these are my friends. They came with me.
Swims up to each of you. Hello. Kind of gets very close and grabs hands, and shakes and is immediately in your space there, Est.
I think I kind of have to. I step back a little bit, but this is Wynn's like special person, so I'm like trying to like lean into it a little bit.
And he kind of gets up, and then he kind of, sorry, and he kind of then swims back, and he's like, I hope everything is well for all of you. You were able to get in, and everything is fine.
We're very well taken care of, Koba. I hear you're competing in the contest.
Yes. Mother has insisted that I show off my talents this year. So I will be dancing this year. And maybe it's the first time we see him maybe a little more hesitant.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna like sort of do that cool uncle thing, maybe, and sort of like wink and be like, well, maybe Haptera will, offer you some advice. He was a dance master in his day. I heard he still got it.
Well, I will certainly be happy to give any advice I can. And well, my dear boy, if you can approach your dance with the passion you've just shown here for your uncle, your friends, then I have no doubt that you will exceed with great skill.
It's very different than what my teacher tells me. My teacher tells me that I need to control that passion, to channel it and tamp it down. But sometimes it just overtakes me, and he says that I have to be more cautious in that, to be able to remember the steps and the dance and be able to do that. But sometimes it's just so you just want to move and you're not, it's all planned out.
There is certainly something admirable about the technical perfection required to perform a complicated routine. But I think my own personal preference is to let the heart lead where it will, and I think you will not go far wrong if you follow that.
And you'll have a better time, too.
Quite so, quite so.
It could be. It could be. Well, I should get back. I have my drills to run before it gets too late. So I will see you again later.
We'll be here.
Okay. And it kind of turns and yes. I will see you all.
And we shall see you, I have no doubt.
All right. And he will swim out. And you'll probably hear soon enough the sounds of a very basic, like, scale dance thing, the rhythm that he has to practice to. So let me ask you now. Well, this is to kind of have some time here free. Some space to do what you want. Let me start with you, Keck. Now, you've been fed, your companions are here. What is it that you wish to do?
I would like to explore the city. Like, as I was thinking about doing the architecture, but especially like Old Town, like which is a little bit down into the trench by now, because after an earthquake, it sank there, and now it's not inhabitable anymore. But I would like to have some of the others accompany me, because it could be dangerous down there. I don't want to go there alone. So I'm asking everybody. I'm hoping for persons I'm especially kind of, but I will accept whoever joins me going down to the old ruins for a moment.
If I perceive those at all to be dangerous, I'm in.
Okay. Have
sounds good.
Best.
Yeah, this is clearly something that's important to Keck. So I'm happy to come along, especially after he was sort of affected.
I think I decline because I just want to like float aimlessly for a little while.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Later.
So let's do a little sort of montage scene with the three of you, and then let's come back to S. Does that seem cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So you described Old Town as maybe a portion of the city that has fallen a bit down into the trench.
Yes.
So I imagine that again we have that older architecture, the old style shells, but they don't have the cleaning fish, the fish that clean things, or down here. So it's probably more green and covered with wild algae. Essentially, that's the equivalent of being overgrown. And the currents are wild through here. They go and they kind of wrap through some of the avenues. Tell me, what's another spectacular features of this section, Keck? When you reach this area with the wildness, what is another thing that you see or experience or feel here?
Well, there was once the ivory tower, which reached up to beyond sea level, above sea level, and now it's like a thorn pointing into the range. And some say where it is pointing to, there's a secret treasure to be found. But nobody would dare to dive that deep into the trench. And this ivory tower is grown over and over with algae. And from my point of view, that's the most natural way how things return to nature again after we once took them.
Do you imagine what is it like when you go into the trench beyond the currents and stuff? What are the other? Why don't people dive down so far?
It's cold. It's just too cold, and us merfolk are very affected by this cold. Like we are cold-blooded, And therefore we get sleepy and more drowsy. And if we go further down, we would just fade away.
But that there is that lure of the unknown that you see there.
Isn't it? Yeah. Haptera, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think it's not somewhere that he's particularly explored in the past. And yeah, it's I think that due to his physiology, I think that Haptera deals with the cold and the depths a little better. But he's I think he's a little cautious, but yeah, also sort of lost in wonder at the sights of this
this old town.
Yes, yeah.
Wynn, what's another feature of this submerged section of the city? We've got it kind of angled down, parts are bent. We have that tower pointing downwards. We have the currents. What else is here that we note?
Well, I think that when someone dies, this is where we put them. They sink to the bottom and create little colonies of microorganisms and various different things. So it's not a creepy thing. It's a sacred space in a sort of way, I guess.
And so we have these probably equivalent of sort of mausoleums then?
Yeah, something like that, or maybe just like little nooks and things like that.
Okay.
In the natural rock face or in the coral, whatever's down here.
Okay. So those are tucked away. In some places you can see where they finally transformed into their elemental nature after having been here for a while. And you also definitely get those whispers and echoes through here. Not necessarily the full spirits that have clung on, but just echoes and feelings, because so many people, so many hopes and thoughts at the end have clung on to these bodies and probably have their own sort of murmur that you're hearing in the background. Haptera, what else? What is another striking feature of this place?
So I think one of the things that we note while we're down here is obviously saying a lot of the old buildings are made from shells, and some of the old buildings here have been inhabited by colonies of hermit crabs, and the buildings themselves actually sort of roam around as little symbiotic colonies of these hermit crabs.
Yeah, and it will be a bit when you see one of these buildings will kind of roll up towards you. And it will approach and kind of stops. And you'll hear this kind of clicking of claws from the little hermit's crabs that it takes a second to resolve, but it will eventually resolve kind of into words. And it's like, welcome.
Hello. I'll sort of bow. We wish to visit this part of the city. May we enter your home?
My home is me, but you're welcome to move through the streets here. I am singular. There are no others like me here. Are you lost? You don't have a body with you.
No, we're here to visit this place and see what we may learn of it. If that is amenable.
We have no control over beyond what we are. You will walk where you wish.
That's the point. No need to argue with them. Come on.
And as you move along, it probably does kind of shadow you out of more curiosity than anything. So what is it that you are looking for, that you want to find here? Kek, what is it that you want from this place?
I want to understand what kind of shells they were using back in the days, which allow all these constructions to return to a coral reef kind of state again. It's highly appreciated. What we build nowadays will just be purely abandoned by everything because of, I don't know, and that's what I try to find out. And
okay.
Also, I have the feeling that there's a good reason that all these competitions are happening here, and it has something to do with the history of Old Town. Maybe we will get at least a clue of it.
Okay. And you have a survival of 5, right?
I'm the absolute fittest survival.
Okay.
Person.
So I think this is probably, the survival represents you're able to kind of poke around in this dangerous area. Does that seem right?
Absolutely. And for example, these kind of creatures we just face through, so I'm used to handle them. It's like diplomacy, but with nature, I would call it. Yeah. And so there are many little traps for people who are not used to go in such areas, and I know them all. And now it's my opportunity to show my friends what I'm capable of. So we go through some very strong streams. We go deep into some old constructions which nobody would dare to visit because they could collapse any moment. But I feel comfortable because I see what they are made of. And how it turns out, yeah, that works all well.
And what do you think you find? I mean, I'll describe the specifics, but what is it that you want to kind of locate here?
There are old stories and legends and about this ivory tower, this gigantic construction now pointing into the darkness. And finding an entrance there and finding one of the secret chambers where the mages of their time were doing their magic and illuminating the bottom of the sea. So one day the trench was illuminated and it was possible to live down there. And like finding the relics of the magic used at that time, that would be amazing. I'm looking for that.
So as Kek goes down into this dangerous area, he's pushing further on. Win, Haptera, what's your thought on that?
I would go with, I like to push my luck.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, I think I will follow as well. I think I trust Kek to be able to lead us through safely.
So you will go down into there and descend into the tower. We're going to cut away from you. We'll come back in a moment to you three. Est, you've been given some freedom, some chance to do some things. They're going to be gone for a while. What do you want to do?
So really, want some time to myself. And so I guess I'm just, you know, maybe the aunt's house has like a little garden area, so I'm just like out there like floating, have my tail out. You know, I'm just feeling kind of a feeling that's like a combination of being like really lonely, but also being like really socially anxious at the same time. So you're like lonely, but you don't want to be with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, just like contemplating, like, why did I do this? Why am I here? Is it even worth it trying to like pursue this relationship? Like, you know, if I left now, I could just go home and like, they probably wouldn't even notice that I was gone until it was too late.
And as you are there, you're in the garden, dwelling on this, you will hear, no, 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 again. That's wrong again. No, no, again. And here, I'm a little tired. Again. And you will hear the sort of stern voice of an instructor drilling Koba on his work there.
So, you know, I have some ideas of what like social conventions are, but they don't like, affect me as much as other people. So I kind of like swim over there and I see like kind of to like the open doorway, and you know, this very like stern, strict instructor is like just kind of like drilling him. And you know, I've had these sorts of experiences in the past where it's just like, you know, I've been in his sort of situation, and also like I know that like Lynn really loves him, so I just kind of like go in there and just like chew out the instructor a little bit, like, dude, like, leave him alone, like, he's exhausted, like, he needs a break, what's your issue, like, you need to calm down.
And what do you think, if we're going to look at a particular skill here, what do you think is appropriate for you to be able to cause this person to change their attitude?
Oh man, well, I have a very low etiquette, so it's not that.
I think you have the lowest of etiquette.
Yes, I have 0.
But your intentions are good, right?
Yeah.
So what goes wrong? What is the adverse reaction that comes out of this?
I don't know. The instructor probably just like starts yelling at me.
Yeah, and he's yelling, and he's, you know, you don't understand anything, you artless cur, and you know, blah blah blah, and get out of here. Why are you in you know, I am an impresario, and how dare you speak to me that way?
And then of course I just start weeping, like, because I can dish it out, but I can't take it, you know, and I have these very strong emotions. And so I just like start like weeping and wailing.
I think you're going to take a couple of emotional damage from this.
Yeah.
So everybody's emotional endurance is equal to their etiquette. Let me get the numbers here. Sorry, I should have looked this up before. Physical pain is equal to your aptitude, dexterity, and might. Emotional is equal to your etiquette, insight, and survival.
Well, so I have a really high insight. So I have a 3 insight, a 0 etiquette, and a 2 survival. Okay,
so you get a 5 there. You take a couple of damage. Clearly, just kind of facing him on his terms in a kind of speaking thing isn't working. And you are weeping, and he doesn't seem to care.
You know,
he might actually feed him.
Yeah. So I just grab Koba and start swimming away. I'm stealing him, like my kleptomaniac. And so I grab Koba, like in my arms because I think I'm much bigger than he is.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I kind of grab him in my arms and like, I have my tail so I can go very fast. I can easily outrun the instructor. So I just swim with him kind of like out past the perimeter of the grounds, and we kind of just like end up on like some random like street near the house. It's like,
and his eyes are wide, like big wide-eyed now.
So is this from me insulting the instructor or me running off with him?
And he's like, that was amazing. No, I've never seen anyone talk back to him like that. Oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. I'm in so much trouble.
I look at him and I was like, I know I'm not a people person, but you should never let anybody talk to you like that. Nobody cares about you. You got to look out for yourself.
And you kind of see him kind of pull in on himself a little bit, and you notice he's kind of maybe having some warring emotions, and as he's doing that, he becomes a little more pale. Like you see break through some of the signs of the infection.
So I start petting his head a little bit to try and get him to calm down, because I know from my experiences with wind that people don't react well to the infection. I was like, let's go shopping, honey. I'll get you some nice stuff.
And he's just kind of stunned enough that he will let you drag him along, making the situation worse for him.
Yeah, so I've kind of let him go from the tight embrace, but I'm just pulling his hand, kind of dragging him behind me, and I still have my big whale tail. So every swish is 10 feet.
Okay, woof, 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 pushing along away. We leave the house behind where there's probably shouting now going on over there. Let's cut back to the descent into the depths of the ivory tower. It's a big tower. It had to be huge, right, to be able to stand as tall as it was. And it's, of course, at an angle, and it is darkened in here. What do you three do for illumination inside of this place?
Wasn't someone bioluminescent?
Yeah, actually, I think that.
Yeah, Haptera does have a sort of phosphorescent patterns on his skin, which sort of gleam through the sheer silks he's wearing. So it's probably not going to illuminate much outside of himself, but it's certainly a beacon. He certainly acts as a beacon, I guess, for us.
We don't need more. We shouldn't have more, because there are creatures down here who would get attracted by more light, and we don't want them around us. I promise you. So this is just enough, Aptera. Don't get any brighter, please.
We want to go down, and we know that when we're done, we can go up, right? So
yes, it's easy in, easy out. Yes.
Yeah.
And you have a survival of 5, so you can certainly keep yourself and your companions, in relative safety here as you hunt down through. And what is it that finds you here?
We break down through the floor of a big hall in which once dancing competitions were held, and we break down through the eye of a cyclope and enter a secret chamber below that dancing hall. And in that we find what I was looking for, which is unfortunately the broken but still complete ball, a big ball which was used to illuminate once the trench. This is an amazing discovery. It's broken into pieces, but it might change the course of history.
It's got these big pieces. You can tell the pressure in here has kind of held it together. But I think that Haptera, you will feel the magic off of this thing.
Sure thing. This is certainly something. There's definitely power to it still. What it is capable of, whether it can be repaired, I do not know.
Yes. This is good news. You know what the old tales are saying. It's like when the trench could be the perfect place where the infectious could live peacefully and separated from us. They could build their own city down there. It's deep enough to be far away enough. The streams don't lead anywhere up. If we could illuminate the trench again, with this, the mages of the colony, they could like repair this, don't they? What do you think? Let's bring it up and tell everybody.
It's huge, and it's kind of in pieces and sort of fragile, and it has a lot of magics to it.
We should certainly inform some people, see if there's something that can be done for it, but I fear in its current state there is little to be done without risking harm to it.
Yeah, but this is such good news. Like, let's get a piece which others can identify with us, and then we need to tell the elders.
Very well. Yeah, I think I'm going to try and locate a piece I think I could move without damaging it.
Okay. So I'm going to say that that's probably a hard task. This seems like it might be insight to start, Haptera, or even dexterity. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm just looking up. Insight sounds like probably the best. So I only have 2 in insight, I believe. So I don't think I'm capable of straight up succeeding at a.
So let me ask you this: what is the cost or complication that occurs to allow you to do this? The task is above your expertise, and significantly above. So what goes? You're going to get this if you want. But what additional problem occurs from this?
I think I'd quite like it actually if the if I'm picking up the shard, it reacts with Haptera's sort of own magic, and it glows like a huge beacon, and it is going to draw attention from things.
Perfect. When as that happens, as Haptera kind of concentrates and then grabs that, and that light illuminates out of the corner of your eye, when you will see this squid peel itself off from a surface, and it's albino squid, and it just comes at you. What do you want to do?
It's coming directly at us, or
yes,
specifically.
Well, it's you're the person kind of at the back. These two are concentrated on that. You're more physical, so you're probably the one who notices this squid.
My first instinct is to get in its face in the sense that I'm trying to be between it and the others. Yeah.
So this sounds like a tough might task.
Okay.
So what is your might?
I think it's 2, I guess.
Okay. So you can stop it, but what's the price you pay to stop it? Do you think it is damage, or do you think you get pulled away, or does the room start to come down? What do you think?
I think I like the last one the best. This is a place that we had really been talking about how fragile things were. Okay. And I think that this tussle with this squid is compromising integrity.
Yeah. And you're kind of shaking it around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're strong, and you'll hit it against something. Things come down, start to fall, and then start to and the whole the interior section of this starts to collapse. And you can get this out of the way, but you guys are going to have to take off up to get out of here. Does that sound fair?
Yes. Yeah. And I will be the last to follow. Because I'm trying to keep the squid at bay.
Does that seem good to you, Kek? That you three can get away from the squid with a piece of this thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
that's already good. Yeah.
Shoot up out of this dark cold. Though even as you do it, Haptera is glowing like a little sun.
With the shard.
Yeah. As you will take off. I'm going to cut away from you three. Back to you, Est. So you're trying to calm him down, right? Trying to get him. I won't say I'd say it's a typical task for you, but your etiquette is not that great, is it?
No.
So you can do it and calm him down, but there's a cost to be paid. What do you think that is? Is it emotional toll on you? Is it that his attitude changes? Does he fall in love with you? Or what?
Be an interesting love triangle.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a little bit older. You're a friend.
How old is he?
Oh, he's probably in his. I mean, he's a young man. He's just younger than Win by a number of years.
Well, I mean, I have a high insight. I mean, I'm not I don't have a lot of etiquette, but I do have high insight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. So tell me how it is that you you use that to solve this situation.
So I don't really know how. It's not that I don't have empathy, but I have trouble communicating with people. So I don't really know how to identify exactly what the issue is for him personally. So I think I just kind of start telling as we're kind of going along. I'm stealing stuff from people and decorating him with jewels and
You can't date that stuff.
Yes, I can.
I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
Kova, one day you'll know the world is a cool place.
Oh, I know the world's a cool place.
So you got to play by your own rules.
Oh. See him think about that. Huh.
And so I also to try and it always one of the things that I liked as I was kind of traveling through the world was listening to people's stories because you know sometimes it's easier to like relate to a story than trying to just like intuit things. And so I'm telling him stories of like people I've met and also just like mythological stories. And I think maybe like maybe falling in love like a little bit, maybe not like, you know, super, but like
he's got a
there's
crush.
something there. Yeah.
Okay. He's got a crush on you, but he
On the
does
weird
fall in love.
kleptomaniac.
Yes. Oh, because you're so.
I think
there's never been anyone like you.
I think it's kind of like the mystery factor too. Like I'm just such like I'm such like a weird and strange person that he's never met anyone like me.
And he's used to people being very much more outgoing and communicating and talking about their emotions, and you don't. You keep it inside like a secret. And this is so exciting to him. You know,
I always have like a poker face. Like my facial expressions do not tell much, and he's more used to like that kind of open communication.
Okay.
I have like a flat tone of voice.
Perfect. And maybe at the end you'll see him like reach out his hand and maybe pick up a loose thing off a stall and maybe kind of puts that somewhere.
Good job. You're learning.
Can I hard frame the sort of a meeting of you and Koba and these three returning? Is that?
Sure, but maybe they should go. I think those three should return to the house and like find some like chaos that I've caused by kidnapping the favored son of the house, and they have to like get us back to the house.
Perfect. So there is a thing. When you return back to the house, your aunt is there, and she's in panic, and she looks at you and she goes, "You,
me,
win.
Okay.
Your friend has kidnapped Koba.
Kidnapped Koba?
Dragged him away while he was in the middle of practice and took off to the heavens nowhere."
I have not seen him or Est. I have no idea, but that does not sound like
him.
Est. Yeah.
And she looks furious.
Okay, guys, I think we gotta find Koba. What do you guys want to do with our stuff?
Hey, it's family first.
Yes, we should probably find somewhere safe to leave this, if that's all right, my dear, and then we shall go in search of your son.
Yeah. Let's leave the piece of relic here in safety. I will hide it under this box.
The box is there and the glow is coming out from underneath it.
Just an underwater carpet over it. Cover a little bit more.
And so you will search out. And what are the telltale signs for you of of Est's, where Est is gone?
Well, I will use that aptitude of mine, that sort of, dare I say, kind of, it's like a charm, I think, to just ask people who are around and sort of suss out, I know exactly what both of them look like.
Okay.
And things like that. So I will, and I can even.
Koba was here with this woman of mystery that he was with.
And so, I mean, I'll just sort of do that and hopefully catch up with them.
That sounds fair. Let me ask you then, Est, where do they find you and Koba?
I think they find us at like the tea parlor. I steal a lot of stuff, but I do have like some money, and so it's like we're gonna have cake and tea and sweets and I like all the stuff he's not allowed to have. I'm just like, yes.
He's scooping it in. So you will see them enjoying themselves, indulging. You three will see them.
What on earth happened I heard this story that cannot possibly be true.
Listen.
That you abducted Koba?
I did not abduct him. I saved him. That man was yelling at him. He was traumatizing him. It was not a good situation. I tried to get him to stop, and then he started yelling at me. And you know, when people yell at me, I can't take it. So we left. I ejected us from the situation.
What's your shard?
He's like eating something. Okay. Was somebody
She
actually
told me the
yelling?
world's a tough place, and I've got to learn how to handle myself.
That's true to an extent. Just, promise me that if you go somewhere, you'll tell your aunt where you're going, because I think she's already mad enough at me as it is.
And that will actually kind of bring him down. Like he realizes that there are repercussions for you.
Yeah, I start to feel bad too, because I realize that it's all coming. Like, it's okay when it's coming back on me, because I'm used to having people being mad at me, but then her being mad at Wynn, so I'm just like, so we better go. And I'm getting ready to like grovel.
I actually think I'm going to apologize. I let this go way too long. I am so sorry. I wish we had another hour, but we are at a quarter till. I'm so sorry. But I want to get like a little vignette epilogue bit from each of you about what we see happen in the city, if you don't mind, before we close out. So let me start with you, Est. What is it? What do we see later on from you? Like an epilogue bit or a scene from later that you would want to have if we kind of do on the preview for next time?
So I think looking forward to the actual contest, I think I do pretty well in the knife throwing competition, and trying to use that in order to like win back favor from Wynn, because I was in the doghouse before, and now I'm even more in the doghouse.
And when we see you, do you have different knives?
Let's just say the knives that I throw all look different from each other.
Perfect. Wynn, what about you? What's a bit or an epilogue or a scene or encounter we see from you?
I think that what you see perhaps is sort of a period of anger, like just an hour or two of anger at S before he realizes that, like, man, she was really just trying to protect Koba. And Koba is like so precious to me. So I think what you see is sort of like maybe, if this were a movie or something like that, it would be like just like a conversation or a walk with Est, and it's a little bit more congenial than it had been before.
Like walking closer, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I think what that is just like our relationship's a little bit less negative. Awesome.
And what about you, Haptera? What do we see from you?
So yeah, I think Haptera's like little vignette is just going to be he will actually be working with Koba, teaching him, taking him through some motions and stuff, teaching him in a much more relaxed style to his current dance master, and I think he's doing better as a result.
Absolutely. He seems to actually, when we see him, whereas we saw him before when he was dancing, he didn't look like he was enjoying it, but now it definitely looks like he's enjoying the act of dancing. And last but not least, Keck, what's the final bit we get from you?
Well, there's this fragment. And I thought I could change the course of history when now after a long discussion, while making music, having poetry with my 3 friends, plus Koba, possibly, the final decision is to bring the fragment back and let future generations decide what to do with it. But it's not up to us to decide how we should live like together with the infectious. And I made my peace with the infectious.
That's very nice. That's very nice. Thank you very much. I am sorry we ran up close to time here. But thank you very much for playing. For three of you I haven't played with before, so that's really awesome that I got to play with some new people today. And Garrett, thank you for coming in at the last minute. Much appreciated. Anything you want to say about the setting or the system or anything like that? I wish the first time I run something, I never know how long things are going to take. And so I think if we were to do this again, I would tighten obviously the character creation so I give you more space. But you guys had cool characters, and so I kind of let it maybe run a little bit longer. Anything anybody wants to say about it?
I think the character side of it is really really evocative. I like that it's quite all the individual pieces are quite straightforward, and you can kind of pick them up just at a glance, really. But there's a lot of different combinations. I think it's a nice mix that they've got in there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the setting again, just it's a very sort of light brush, but very evocative. I think, yeah, especially with the art in the book as well, which is gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah,
I really like it. Anything, Noelle? Anything you want to say about it?
I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. I did think it took us like a little while to get to like the actual action, but maybe that's just like learning how to play and stuff. But yeah, I thought the characters were really interesting, and the setting, has like some details filled out, but I liked that we could have picked more stuff to add into the world too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I probably could have, if I were to do this again, I could probably significantly get to things faster and make those choices quicker. And that's really on me, I think. I like what we did get, but yeah, I should have gotten to us and it there faster. Garrett, anything you want to say about it? By the way, I love that image that you put up. That was really awesome.
I will share it on the Slack again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this as you could see from the image, this setting is very much inspiring me, and so thinking about it in terms of mere people, mere folks, and it's very beautiful, I have to say, and immediately brings you into the right mindset. So thank you all for playing. Mechanically wise, my favorite part, and that's something which you should steal for every other game with skills, is think about picking one skill based on a relationship with another character. I think that's a super simple and very effective way to combine something very mechanical, which is a skill, with a relationship thing. I love that. Yeah,
awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's a neat trick. Because it puts a little more weight on those connections.
Yeah.
So Andy, I'm going to give you last word. Anything else you want to add to the discussion here? Things you liked, would like to see more of, or something else?
Sure. I enjoyed it. I felt like every component that goes into building a character has like a lot in it to explore. So I will say that when I got to the point where I was writing down all these notes about the things that might be important or to lean into for my character, I had a lot. And that was a little overwhelming to me. And I wasn't sure what to lean into. And I think that I guess we only played for like an hour and a half. So like that made it hard to explore everything. So I just had to sort of be like, I'm going to lean into that and not lean into that. But I liked it. It was almost a little much for how much stuff I had, how much my character had to begin with.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, I wonder how this would sustain over longer play. And this, I think this would sustain itself. I think we would have a lot to explore with over a longer time. So, thank you guys, everyone, very much. Is everyone okay with me posting this?
Yep. Sure thing.
All right. Thank you again. I'll give you like 5 minutes to get to your next games or whatnot. And I appreciate it for doing this on a super early for you, Noel. Appreciate it. And I think later for you, David, I assume it's evening where you're at?
Yeah, it's just getting around to evening now. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. I'm going to stop the broadcast.
Okay.